Sarah had reached her 30s as a successful marketing executive, thriving in the bustling cityscape. Amidst her busy life, she longed for companionship, and Tinder had seemed like the perfect solution. Among the multitude of matches, one profile stood out. James. His profile picture radiated charisma, his bio oozed charm, and their chats were nothing short of captivating. After weeks of getting to know each other through digital conversations, Sarah and James decided it was time to meet in person. They picked a cozy downtown cafe for their first date, a quaint spot known for its dimly lit ambience and artisanal coffee. As Sarah entered the cafe, her heart raced with excitement and a hint of anxiety. Would James be as charming in person as he had been through text? She spotted him sitting at a corner table, a welcoming smile on his face. His attire was impeccable, and he exuded an aura of confidence. The initial moments of their date were perfect. They exchanged stories, shared laughter, and found common interests. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, creating an atmosphere of intimacy. It seemed like the start of something beautiful. However, as the evening progressed, a sinister cloud began to overshadow their seemingly perfect encounter. James's demeanor started to change, subtly at first, but progressively more alarming. He demanded Sarah's undivided attention, leaning in closer as if trying to trap her within his gaze. Sarah felt a knot of unease forming in her stomach. The once charming James had transformed into someone she didn't recognize. He grew possessive, his eyes narrowing at any waiter who dared to engage in polite conversation with Sarah. He even glared menacingly at other patrons who dared to look in her direction. When Sarah excused herself to use the restroom, James's mask slipped further. He raised his voice, demanding to know where she was going. Panic washed over her as she realized that something was deeply wrong. She hurriedly entered the restroom, her heart pounding in her chest. Inside the bathroom, she frantically dialed the number of her best friend, Jenny, who had been aware of her plans for the evening. Between shaky breaths, she explained the distressing turn of events. Jenny's voice was filled with concern as she assured Sarah that help was on the way. Jenny immediately called the police, providing them with the cafe's address and a description of James. The officers, recognizing the urgency of the situation, arrived at the cafe discreetly, careful not to alert James. Meanwhile, Sarah struggled to maintain her composure in the restroom. She feared what might happen if she confronted James or if he realized she was trying to escape. Minutes felt like hours as she anxiously awaited help. Outside the restroom, James's behavior continued to escalate. He grew agitated and started pacing, drawing the attention of other patrons. The cafe's serene ambience had been shattered by his anger, and a sense of dread permeated the room. Finally, Sarah received a text from Jenny. The police were on their way, and she should seize the next opportunity to escape. With trembling hands, Sarah opened the bathroom door just enough to peek outside. She saw the police officers discreetly positioned near the cafe's entrance, ready to intervene. Summoning all her courage, Sarah slipped out of the restroom and quickly made her way toward the exit. She felt James's eyes burning into her back as she moved, but she didn't dare look back. Her heart pounded in her chest as she pushed open the cafe's door and rushed into the safety of the night. The police swiftly approached James, who was still unaware of Sarah's escape. They assessed the situation, noting his aggressive behavior and the distress of the cafe's patrons. With a firm but calm approach, they apprehended him and ensured that everyone in the cafe was safe. Sarah sat in the police car, her emotions a whirlwind of relief, fear, and disbelief. She had escaped a situation that had taken a dark turn on what was supposed to be a promising date. As they drove away from the cafe, she couldn't help but shiver at the thought of what might have happened if she hadn't made that emergency call to her friend. In the end, the experience left Sarah shaken but wiser. It was a stark reminder of the unpredictability of online dating and the importance of trusting one's instincts. She vowed never to ignore red flags again and to prioritize her safety above all else. As for James, he faced legal consequences for his behavior that evening. Sarah's courage in seeking help had not only saved herself, but potentially prevented a more dangerous situation from unfolding. The date that had started with promise had taken a dark turn, but Sarah emerged from the ordeal stronger, more cautious, and determined never to let her guard down again. The sinister events of that night haunted her for weeks. She couldn't shake the feeling that she had narrowly escaped a truly horrifying fate. As the days passed, she began to receive anonymous messages on her phone. The messages were cryptic and filled with unsettling details about her life. Things only someone who had been watching her closely could know. Sarah couldn't escape the sense of being stalked, and the fear gnawed at her day and night. She contacted the police, but they could find no concrete evidence to identify the mysterious sender of the messages. Her sense of security had been shattered, and she felt like a prisoner in her own life. Weeks turned into months, and the messages continued. Sarah's anxiety reached a breaking point. She couldn't focus on work, and even simple errands became paralyzing. She had lost her sense of safety, and the constant threat of the unknown tormentor haunted her every waking moment. Desperate for answers, Sarah hired a private investigator. The investigator delved deep into the case, examining every detail, and slowly a pattern began to emerge. It appeared that the anonymous stalker had a connection to the night-marriage date with James. The investigator uncovered chilling information about James' past. He had a history of stalking and had been involved in several disturbing incidents with women he had met online. It seemed that Sarah had been just one of his many victims, and her escape had triggered a dangerous obsession. Armed with this new information, Sarah decided to take matters into her own hands. She couldn't live in fear any longer. With the help of the private investigator, she gathered evidence against James and presented it to the police. It was a daunting process, but she was determined to put an end to the torment. As the legal proceedings against James began, Sarah's courage inspired other victims to come forward. They shared their own harrowing experiences with him, painting a terrifying picture of a serial predator. The case against James grew stronger, and the authorities were determined to ensure that he would never harm another person. The trial was a grueling ordeal for Sarah and the other victims. They had to relive their traumas in the harsh glare of the courtroom. But they stood together, determined to see justice served. James was eventually convicted of multiple counts of stalking and harassment, and he was sentenced to a lengthy prison term. With James behind bars, Sarah finally began to rebuild her life. The tormenting messages stopped, and a sense of security slowly returned. She learned the importance of trusting her instincts and taking action when her safety was at risk. The date that had taken a dark turn had turned into a terrifying ordeal, but Sarah's bravery and determination had prevailed. She had faced her worst fears and emerged stronger on the other side. The experience had taught her that even in the darkest moments, there is a glimmer of hope and the strength to fight back against the shadows that threaten to consume her. Daniel, a 27-year-old photographer with a passion for capturing the beauty of life through his lens, had always believed in the serendipity of love. He had experienced the ebb and flow of relationships, but never lost faith in the idea of finding someone who would truly connect with his soul. Little did he know that his journey to love would take an unexpected and chilling turn when he swiped right on Tinder one fateful evening. Tinder, the modern-day Cupid, had brought many intriguing people into Daniel's life. But none had left as profound an impact as Lisa, a woman whose profile picture emanated an aura of charm and mystique. Their initial conversations were a whirlwind of wit and laughter, and before he knew it, Daniel was entangled in the enchanting web of her words. As the days turned into weeks, their connection deepened. Daniel found himself captivated by Lisa's intelligence, her quick humor, and her seemingly genuine interest in his life. Their chemistry was undeniable, and it wasn't long before they decided to meet in person. They chose a quaint coffee shop, where the fragrant aroma of brewing espresso mingled with their excitement. Their first date was nothing short of magical. Lisa's eyes sparkled with an intensity that spoke volumes about her zest for life, and Daniel couldn't help but feel a rush of happiness as they shared their dreams and aspirations. It was in those moments, beneath the soft glow of the cafe's pendant lights, that Daniel thought he had finally found the person he had been searching for. However, as days turned into weeks and weeks into months, Daniel began to notice unsettling patterns in Lisa's behavior. It started innocently enough, with Lisa surprising him at his workplace with a sweet smile and his favorite latte. Daniel was touched by the gesture, but he couldn't help but wonder how she knew where he worked. He dismissed it as a coincidence, believing that love had simply made her more attentive. But then things took a dark turn. Lisa began to show up at his workplace unannounced, not just once, but repeatedly. Daniel's colleagues raised eyebrows, and he could feel the judgmental gazes. He realized that Lisa's constant presence was unsettling not just to him, but to those around him as well. The unease didn't end there. Lisa started to insinuate herself into his social gatherings with friends. She'd turn up at parties uninvited, and her presence felt intrusive. Daniel's friends, who had once been excited to meet his new girlfriend, began to express concerns about her behavior. They saw what he had been trying to ignore, the signs of stalking. Then came the never-ending stream of text messages, flooding his phone throughout the day and night. At first he welcomed the attention, believing it to be a testament of Lisa's affection. But the messages took a sinister turn, becoming more demanding, possessive, and invasive. She questioned his every move, his every interaction, and his every thought. As the weight of Lisa's actions pressed down on him, Daniel realized that he could no longer ignore the looming darkness in their relationship. He had to confront her, to have an honest conversation about the boundaries that had been shattered. One evening, he mustered the courage to address the issue, inviting her to a quiet, dimly lit restaurant. As he gently explained his concerns, her demeanor began to change before his very eyes. Her sweet smile twisted into a menacing grin, and her eyes, once so full of life, turned cold and calculating. It was as though he had awakened a dormant demon within her. Lisa's voice dropped to a chilling whisper as she uttered threats that sent shivers down his spine. "If you ever try to leave me," she hissed, "I'll make sure the world knows every embarrassing secret you've ever shared with me. I'll destroy your reputation, your career, and everything you hold dear." Daniel was stunned, trapped between the love he had once felt for Lisa and the terror that now gripped his heart. He realized that he was dealing with a person who was not just possessive but dangerously unstable. He had to escape this toxic relationship, but he knew that doing so would come at a great cost. As the days passed, Lisa's obsession escalated to nightmarish proportions. One evening, after Daniel had retreated to the solace of his apartment, he heard an eerie scratching sound coming from his bedroom door. Heart pounding, he cautiously approached the door, only to find a chilling message etched into the wood with a sharp object. "You can't hide from me, Daniel." Terror coursed through his veins as he realized that Lisa had somehow gained access to his apartment. How had she managed this? Panic consumed him, and he knew he needed to take drastic action. He called the police, who arrived promptly and searched the premises. They discovered disturbing evidence of Lisa's intrusion. Hidden cameras, meticulously documented notes on Daniel's daily routines, and even a shrine dedicated to their relationship, filled with photos and mementos. The police couldn't believe the extent of Lisa's fixation, and they advised Daniel to seek a restraining order immediately. In the darkness of that night, Daniel made a difficult decision. He decided to involve the authorities, seeking legal protection from the storm that had become his life. With the help of a lawyer, he obtained a restraining order against Lisa, the document serving as a shield against her relentless pursuit. The court's ruling was a bittersweet victory. Daniel had escaped the clutches of a woman whose love had morphed into a sinister obsession. But the scars of the experience remained. He had lost his faith in the serendipity of love, and his heart bore the wounds of betrayal and manipulation. In the aftermath of the restraining order, Lisa's presence gradually faded from Daniel's life, like a sinister spectre retreating into the shadows. The wounds began to heal, and with time he found the strength to rebuild the life that had been nearly shattered by an ill-fated swipe on Tinder. The experience served as a stark reminder that the digital realm of dating apps could sometimes be a treacherous terrain, concealing individuals with ulterior motives beneath charming profiles. But it also reaffirmed Daniel's belief in the resilience of the human spirit. He had faced darkness head-on and emerged stronger, wiser, and more cautious in matters of the heart. As he continued to capture the beauty of life through his lens, Daniel knew that love might find him again, and when it did, he would be better equipped to navigate the complexities of the human heart. For now, he cherished the lessons learned from the haunting tale of Lisa, a story that would forever serve as a reminder that love, like life itself, could be a fragile and unpredictable journey. Once upon a time, in a bustling city teeming with life and possibilities, there lived a young woman named Sarah. At 27 years old, she was a professional who thrived in the fast-paced urban jungle, navigating the complexities of work, life, and relationships. Sarah had always believed in the magic of love, a belief she held onto tightly despite the countless disappointments and heartaches life had thrown her way. One fateful evening, as the city lights painted a mesmerizing tapestry across the night sky, Sarah found herself alone in her cozy apartment. She decided to indulge in a bit of swiping on her favorite dating app, hoping to find someone who would fill the void that had been growing within her. As her finger glided effortlessly across the screen, she stumbled upon a profile that caught her attention. It was a profile that seemed to radiate charm, intelligence, and a hint of mystery. The profile belonged to a man named David. His picture displayed a warm, welcoming smile, and his bio was filled with witty, well-spoken words that immediately drew Sarah in. Without a moment's hesitation, she swiped right. To her delight, the screen flashed with a match, notification, and Sarah felt a rush of excitement. She and David began chatting, their conversations flowing effortlessly from one topic to another. What started as light banter soon evolved into deep, meaningful discussions about life, dreams, and everything in between. David had a way with words that was both captivating and sincere. He seemed to understand Sarah's every thought and emotion, and his thoughtful messages warmed her heart. With each passing day, their connection grew stronger, transcending the boundaries of cyberspace. It wasn't long before Sarah and David decided to take their burgeoning relationship to the next level. They arranged to meet in person, eager to see if their online connection could withstand the test of reality. Sarah, trusting in the sincerity she believed David possessed, had no reason to doubt that their first meeting would be anything but magical. As the day of their long-anticipated meeting arrived, Sarah's heart fluttered with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. She spent hours preparing herself, carefully choosing the perfect outfit and making sure every detail was just right. She couldn't help but smile at the thought of finally meeting the man who had captured her heart through their digital exchanges. The moment of truth arrived, and Sarah found herself at a charming restaurant, anxiously waiting for David to arrive. When he walked in, her heart skipped a beat. He looked just as charming and handsome as his profile picture had suggested. A warm hug and a gentle kiss on the cheek sealed their first real-life encounter. But as the evening unfolded, something began to feel amiss. David's demeanor underwent a dramatic transformation. The charming and witty man she had grown to adore online was replaced by someone else entirely. He became aggressive and controlling, dominating their conversation with inappropriate comments and intrusive personal questions. Sarah's discomfort grew with each passing minute, and she couldn't help but wonder if this was the same David she had come to know and care for online. She tried to steer the conversation back to safer waters, but her attempts were met with resistance and hostility. It was as though she was trapped in a nightmare, unable to comprehend the stark contrast between the man before her and the one she had fallen for online. As the evening wore on, Sarah decided that she couldn't endure this torment any longer. She mustered the courage to end the date early, despite the disappointment and confusion swirling within her. She told David that she needed to leave and, with a heavy heart, bid him farewell. But David had other plans. He refused to accept Sarah's rejection, his demeanor growing even more menacing by the second. He followed her as she left the restaurant, his footsteps echoing ominously in the dimly lit alleyways. Panic welled up inside Sarah as she realized that this situation was spiraling out of control. Fear gripped her heart, and in a desperate bid to protect herself, Sarah reached for her phone and dialed 911. Her trembling voice relayed her distress to the dispatcher, pleading for help as she described the terrifying ordeal unfolding before her eyes. As the minutes ticked by like hours, Sarah's pulse raced, and she feared for her safety. But mercifully, the distant wail of sirens grew louder, and a sense of relief washed over her as the police arrived just in the nick of time. They swiftly intervened, their presence a beacon of hope in the darkness that had descended upon her life. David, realizing the dire consequences of his actions, was apprehended by the authorities. Sarah, though shaken and scarred by the traumatic experience, had escaped unharmed, thanks to the timely arrival of the police. As they took David into custody, she couldn't help but wonder how someone who had once seemed so charming and genuine could harbor such darkness within. In the end, Sarah's tale serves as a haunting reminder of the dangers that can lurk beneath the surface of seemingly perfect online personas. It is a cautionary tale of trust betrayed, of the stark contrast between digital facades and the harsh realities of the physical world. And for Sarah, it was a life-altering experience that would forever shape her perspective on love, trust, and the precarious dance between the virtual and the real. In the bustling heart of the city, amidst the skyscrapers and the ceaseless hum of life, John found himself navigating the perplexing world of online dating. He was a successful businessman in his mid-30s, blessed with charm, wit, and a life many would envy. Yet, there was one thing missing from his life: a genuine connection. John's days were filled with meetings, conferences, and deals that made him a wealthy man, but his nights were often solitary, spent scrolling through dating apps in search of that elusive spark. It was in the midst of this digital quest that he stumbled upon the enchanting image of Emma. Her profile picture was a captivating sight. A woman with almond eyes, raven hair cascading down her shoulders, and a smile that seemed to promise the world. She appeared to be a beautiful and sophisticated individual, the embodiment of grace and allure. With a hesitant swipe, John initiated the connection. Little did he know that this seemingly innocent swipe would take him on a journey through the treacherous landscape of online deception. As John and Emma exchanged messages, they quickly discovered a shared passion for art and culture. They talked about their favorite museums, debated the merits of modern art, and delved into the world of literature and music. Each conversation deepened their connection, weaving an intricate tapestry of emotions and dreams. Weeks turned into months, and John found himself hopelessly entangled in the web of Emma's words. She spoke of a future together, of exploring the world's cultural treasures hand in hand. Her messages were filled with promises of love, devotion, and a life that seemed too perfect to be true. But as the days passed, the shadows of doubt began to creep into John's mind. Emma had always been elusive about meeting in person. Whenever he suggested a rendezvous, she skillfully diverted the topic, citing various excuses. One fateful evening, as John anxiously awaited Emma's response, he realized that something was amiss. Hours turned into days, and there was nothing but an eerie silence from her end. Panic gripped his heart as he stared at his phone, desperately hoping for a message, a call, anything. But Emma had vanished without a trace, leaving behind a void that seemed impossible to fill. John's emotions spiraled into a whirlwind of confusion, anger, and heartache. He couldn't fathom how someone who had professed such deep feelings could disappear so abruptly. Determined to unravel the truth, John embarked on a mission to uncover the enigmatic Emma. He scoured the internet, digging into every available piece of information. What he discovered left him dumbfounded and shattered. Emma, the woman he had fallen for, was not who she claimed to be. Her photos were stolen, her identity a carefully crafted lie. The real Emma, whose images had been used, was a completely different person, oblivious to the havoc wreaked in her name. John felt a tidal wave of anger and betrayal crash over him. He had been deceived, manipulated by an individual hidden behind a facade of beauty and charm. The promises of love and a shared future were nothing but a cruel mirage, a trap laid by a virtual predator. As John confronted the truth, he realized that he had become a victim of one of the most common Tinder nightmares: catfishing. It was a harsh lesson in the perils of online dating, a stark reminder that even the most cautious individuals could fall prey to deception. The journey of self-discovery that followed was painful but necessary. John had to rebuild his trust in both himself and the digital world. He learned to distinguish between genuine connections and deceptive illusions, finding solace in the company of friends who stood by his side. Months after his ordeal, John was haunted by the memory of Emma's deceit. Late one night, as he walked through a dimly lit alley, a sinister presence lurked in the shadows. He sensed danger and quickened his pace, but it was too late. A hooded figure emerged from the darkness, his face obscured by a mask. John's heart raced as he tried to escape, but the assailant was relentless. A sharp, cold blade pressed against John's throat, sending shivers down his spine. "Tell no one about Emma," the masked man hissed, "or your life will be forfeit." John nodded frantically, the threat sinking in. The attacker vanished into the night, leaving John trembling and bewildered. Time passed, wounds healed, and John emerged from the depths of heartbreak and terror stronger and wiser. He returned to the world of online dating, this time with a cautious heart and a discerning eye. He knew that the digital realm was teeming with both genuine souls and pretenders, and he was determined not to be fooled again. In the end, John's story serves as a cautionary tale, a testament to the enduring human spirit that can rise above even the most profound betrayals and threats. Online deception and real-life danger may have scarred him, but they did not define him. He found love not on a screen but in the real world, with someone who cherished him for who he truly was. And so, John's journey through the labyrinth of online dating and the shadows of deception ended, not with bitterness, but with a newfound understanding of the complexities of human connection. It was a lesson that would stay with him for the rest of his life, a reminder that love, in all its forms, was worth seeking, even if it meant navigating through the treacherous traps of the digital world.